Welcome to Food Brothers Network. Today I'm going to share with you of my favorite go-to comfort food that I serve my guests with during the festive holiday. And I also make them most of the time for myself. Once you have tried this, you definitely want to have them always at home. Making what I call nut crunch. Nut crunch is one comfort recipe that I really love to have at home and which I can share at any time with my guests. So I will give you an insight into what my holiday looks like with my comfort meals. And as more videos will be coming on some of the things that you could also make at home to share with your guests during this period. Things that you can just keep out on the table, and when you have guests, you serve them with it and they can just pick and chew. So those are the things that I'll be making today. I'll be nut crunch. Let's dive into it and I'll show you how I make two recipes. So to make my nut crunch, I have a variety of nuts and seeds that I'm going to use alongside with other ingredients. So I do have here almond, whole almond. You could use half almonds if you want, or you could basically just dice this into tiny bits. But I'm going to use it this way because I really like the crunchiness of it. I have peanuts, and here I do have macadamia nuts. I do have cashew nuts, and then of course I'm going to use some seeds. These are mixed seeds. There's pumpkin seed, there's sunflowers, and then I have some cherry, dried cherry in here. And then of course I'm going to use all-purpose flour. So you're going to see this alongside with other ingredients that I'll be using to make this nut crunch. Of course you're going to need your measuring cups because you want to make sure the quantities are right. So let's get started. So for this recipe, I'm going to use a quarter cup of each of my nuts. So what I do first is I begin by measuring out the quantities of the ingredients that I'll be using. So that way I can have them all ready for me to work with. So I measure up a quarter of each. That's my macadamia nuts. 1/4 of my peanut. So all the nuts that I'll be using, I'm using 1/4 of each, alongside with 1/4 of my cup of my seed as well. So I use 1 cup of my all-purpose flour. And I use a stick of the Irish butter. This makes 6 tablespoons. And I will use 2 eggs. So simply crack the 2 eggs and use both the yolk and the albumin in this recipe. So here I have cracked in the 2 eggs that I had there and whisk the egg until it becomes a little bit more yellowy and foamy. So once that is done, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. After adding the sugar, I'll still give the egg a bit down a little bit. And I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of water. Water will be added as we need it. But right now I start with a 1/4 cup. And then I have melted my butter and allow it to cool, because I do not want to cook the egg whilst I'm doing this with this. So I have it there, and I'm going to add it to the egg mix and give it a stir. So here I have eggs, butter, and sugar, and a little bit of water. So I'll still stir this in. So that, now that I've stirred that until it's a little bit foamy, what I'm going to do now is to introduce my flour bit by bit. We have to be careful not to splatter everywhere. If you want to use a mixer, you are free to do so. Use a mixer to get this all done. But since it's not much, I'm just going to use this egg mixer. So you add the flour bit by bit. That way you could stir it properly. So now all the flour is in here. I'm going to mix it until all the flour is blended into the mix. So one ingredient that I forgot is baking soda. You do not need a whole lot of it, just a pinch of baking soda. This is not much, so all I need is just a pinch of it. And it's optional, you do not have to add it. If you add too much baking soda, you will not like the taste of it. So please make sure it's just a pinch of baking soda. So here I use pure baking soda, and I'm also going to still stir that in. Baking soda is supposed to help it rise a little bit. And I have my favorite ingredient also that I like to add, which is optional. You do not have to add it. If you like the taste of rum, then definitely go for it. Add just 1 teaspoon of rum to it. It gives it some very nice flavor. And it also helps as a preservative. So I'm going to have a teaspoon of rum. Not more than that. Like I said, it's optional if you do not drink alcohol. And then I make a hole in the middle, and I'm going to pour in my nuts. I probably will have to change the bowl. It looks like this bowl is going to be a bit too small, but let's see. So the star of the whole thing are the nuts. And that's why we call it a nut crunch. I'm going to cover that up, allow it to rise for about 10 to 15 minutes. Everything marinate in, and then I'll come to complete it. You can use a plastic, or you could just cover it with anything that will cover that up. And so I'll leave it there, and I'll be back in 10-15 minutes to continue. So guys, it's been 10 minutes. So now what I have here is a flat plate. I'm going to turn this over into a flat plate. But I'm going to kind of put some flour at the bottom of that because I know it's going to be sticky. So I add flour, and I'm going to also rub my gloves with flour. You don't have to use gloves. You can also use your bare hand, but I just choose to. So I'm going to scoop this out. I give it a thorough mix. Okay, it's thoroughly mixed. So I'm going to make very tiny balls out of this. You could use something to measure if you have like a cutter. You can flatten this and then cut them into equal sizes. But I do not have that handy now, so as usual I'm going to just use my hand, and I'm going to cut and just make tiny balls. And add more flour at the bottom of that plate so it doesn't get sticky. So you make them into tiny balls like that, and try as much as possible to push the nuts into the flour as much as you can. Some of it of course will still be sticking out, and then you roll it nicely, and you always dab your hand or gloves with flour because it gets sticky, and you try as much as possible to make them as equal size as you can. You will not be even, unless you do use measurement. That might not be completely possible, but at least as close as you can. And make the balls tiny. Don't make them too big like the ones I have here. Okay, so now I have rolled up my entire mix, and of course you can see my table is a mess. I've made a mess. In subsequent videos I'll show us how to clean up after we've made messes in the kitchen. So here it is ready, and I will proceed to the next step. So here I have a pot. I'm going to dry it up on the stove, medium heat. And now I'm going to pour in some oil. So one thing I forgot to mention is you do not have to make this into balls. You could make them into any shape of your choice. You could make squares, heart shape, whatever shape you would like to make. I just make it balls because it's easy and convenient for me at the moment. So now I'm going to fry. You could also choose not to fry. If you choose not to fry and rather bake, you can also grease a pan, put this into it, and bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes, and it will still be delicious. But today I'm going to do the fried version. So I'm going to pour in some oil. I'm using a small pot because I do not want to use too much oil. So that is olive oil that I have just poured in. You can use any kind of oil of your choice. I'm going to allow that oil to warm up before I put anything in it. Okay guys, so my pot is hot, so I'm now going to throw in that and allow it to fry. Low heat, you want it to fry through. I'm sorry, medium, not really low. You don't want to put too many at a time. I'm using a small pot because I want to deep fry and I don't want to use too much oil. So how long you fry this for is dependent on the size of your balls. Right now I'm going to make it for about 5 minutes at medium heat. So fry it until it is golden brown, and you keep checking. If it is golden brown, you take it out and I'll show us that. Guys, it is golden brown and it looks yummy yummy. I'm going to take them out and get ready to put the next batch. So here I have my bowl and I just have this paper towel to drain the oil, so that way I have the oil drained off. I will allow the oil to warm a little bit more, then I add the next batch. Viewers, this is what my nut crunch look like here. It's ready. This is absolutely delicious, crunchy and delicious. If you like this recipe, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, Food Brothers Network, and be one of the first to be notified once I have uploaded new videos.